Welcome back to the Boneyard Podcast, everybody. This is your host, Jared Shaffitt, along with my good friend,
Artemis Brower.
Artie.
Yes, sir.
How we doing, my friend?
We're good. We're good. Not as good as you, man. You've had a lot to celebrate over the last few days, man. You gotta happy belated birthday. I gotta make sure I get that shout out here on the podcast. Happy belated birthday to my brother. 29 years around the sun, and celebrate it with a new truck. So
yeah, 29 years old, new truck. Played pretty good golf on Friday, which was my birthday.
As you should.
Honestly, all around good day. Good. It was a good weekend. Went to the beach. Took baby girl out on the beach. My daughter, who turned 1 earlier this month. But yeah, Artie, I mean, life's good. Life's good. There's postseason baseball in Greenville, North Carolina this weekend. I mean, you can't be better. You can't be better.
It's gonna be a good time. Going to be a good time.
For sure. Anything going on with you? You bought a new car.
I did. But like you mentioned in the group chat earlier, we are 2 for 2 on new cars in the month of May. So
I mean,
mine was more out of necessity than it was just wanting a new car because that.
So, ours, we were a 1-car family.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, we were borrowing a car from somebody else, but we were a one-car family. Yeah, we're look at us.
Big boy things, doing grown up things,
and no, that was not financed with. Neither car was financed with the money that we make here on the Boneyard Podcast
because we make $0.
Artie, it's a big episode. Episode 199.
Yes,
199. You got a number 99 for me?
You know, I've been thinking about 99s. When I was looking for like low-key 99s, I mean, obviously you could mention Party Like It's 1999, the year 1999, right? Because of the turn of the century, Y2K, people losing their minds about 1999. But when you look at like players that wear the number 99, it's like all-time greats. Like it's hard to find a player that has worn 99.
That's a great one.
You've got Wayne Gretzky, you've got Aaron Donald, you've got J.J. Watt, you've got Aaron Judge. Like we're talking like up there, upper echelon, either the greatest or close to the greatest.
Don't forget Manny Ramirez wore number 99 for a little bit.
Like it's literally like the goats of like your sports, hockey, football, basketball, whatever. Well, they don't wear 99 in basketball, but it's ridiculous.
It is. It is, as the kids say, ridic. I don't know if they say.
If I had to say a 99, it's going to be to all the goats that have worn 99 in the past. I can't name one, but to all the GOATs that have worn 99, especially Aaron Donald, since he just retired, I think he's going to come out of retirement. I don't think he's going to stay retired. He's only 33, 34, whatever it is. He's going to come back and play a couple more years. But shout out to them.
Yeah, I tried to. It's hard to pull a 99 that's not chalk.
Right.
Because to be honest, like to wear the number 99, you almost have to you have to have a real set, if you know what I mean. You know,
it's almost like wearing a number 23 in basketball. Like you can't be a scrub and wear that number. You gotta be legit.
Yeah, it's the only number retired league wide in the NHL. Nobody wears it. Nobody can wear it. So, I'm gonna say Wayne Gretzky, of course. I mean, the great one. Look, there's so many guys. I'm just looking at the list of baseball right now. I mean, even some of the guys that aren't as well known, you still got dudes on this list that are pretty stout. Gary Sanchez, N.G. Ryu, Spencer Strider. I mean, would have been a Cy Young candidate had he not thrown out his elbow this early on this spring. I mean, he's pretty much out for the season, but I mean, Aaron Judge, the list goes on and on. Manny, like I said, Manny Ramirez. Manny didn't wear the number 99 for long, but overall, I mean, he had the highest WAR, but wore the number 99 for 3 seasons when he was with the Dodgers, and then when he was also with your Chicago White Sox. So
Southside.
That I don't think he was there. He was there for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, he wasn't that long. He was not there long.
Played with him for 24 games that season. Yeah. Well, lots to talk about, Artie.
Sure.
Obviously, we're going to talk about the Greenville Regional on this episode. We were talking before we came on, y'all. We're doing something we've never done before. This is going to be like a true sports radio talk show where we're guest in, guest out. We got 3 guests, 3 different broadcasters from across the regional coming on. I've seen some of them doing different hits here and there with other media outlets. Hey, if you don't want to go listen to them individually, we got them all right here on the Boneyard Podcast tonight. Artie, let's talk a little bit about the American Conference Tournament.
Yeah.
Not the greatest showing, and the Pirates struggles that they kind of limped over the finish line in the regular season. The Pirates continued to, I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily struggled, but they didn't have their best week in Clearwater. Just give me your thoughts on the finish to ECU season.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing to say the least, especially when we're in a conference, and this is no disrespect to these other teams, but
it's disrespect. They suck.
You're in a conference where you look around and it's like, I don't really see another good team. Like I just don't really see another team that can actually compete at a high level or get to the regionals and play for championship baseball. It was a bit of a letdown. It was disappointing. Not what you want to see going into a regional in which you're hosting at home going into playoff baseball. But what I will say is I know we had injuries. I know we kind of are stumbling to the finish a little bit. And to these other teams' credit, we're the best team they're going to play all year. And they were trying to fight for, like, ECU knew they were going to play playoff baseball, right? Like they came into that tournament knowing they don't have to win a conference championship to host a regional, to be in a regional, to go to playoff baseball. I'm not saying that was their thinking at all. They wanted to come in and win that conference championship. But these teams came out and they played their best baseball against us because they had to win a conference title to get to the dance. They knew that coming in. They were going to play their best pitchers. They were going to play their best starters. They were going to give us everything they had coming out the gates, because for them, there is no tomorrow without winning the American. So you kind of have to think about that a little bit, when you're thinking about why we performed as bad as we did. But nonetheless, disappointing. Absolutely disappointing.
Yeah. Started off slow. I mean, went down to Rice. It was looking bleak. All of a sudden, you have, I think it was a 12-run inning against Rice, end up beating them, right? And then you drop the second game 2 against Wichita State, come back, beat Rice again 5 times in the span of a week. And then that second game against Wichita State was back and forth, and you want to talk about absolute drama. That's what it was. Pirates ended up walking it off on a steal at home. Like, come on, you can't write it any better. And part of me was thinking, oh man, like, we're gonna be okay. Like,
right, you won. See that and say, okay, we're gonna right the wrongs. We're gonna be all right. We're probably gonna win another conference championship. But
yeah, I was thinking, oh, like, okay, we're gonna be all right. Maybe that win took some air out of the sails of Wichita State. Maybe that put them on a bad side of the day, right? Like, okay, now we just got to beat them again later this afternoon, and then you come out and have a decent start, but you just don't have the length in the arms because you've already had to burn through your bullpen early on in the tournament, and you end up struggling and losing soundly at the hands of Wichita State, and then they go on to lose to Tulane in the championship game. Tulane's now in the tournament.
Yep.
But they had glimmers of hope. I don't think that they ever really got to their game. And we've seen what happens when they do, when they get to their game. We see that it seems at times they seem unbeatable, but then there's times where they seem very pedestrian.
Right.
Right. And I wonder if the last 3 weeks of the season, how the mood is in that dugout, in that clubhouse. Now, these guys, they know they can win. They know they can go out. They can compete with anybody. But maybe I said it a couple weeks ago. Maybe it's a good thing. Hey, we got to be on the top of our game this time of year. We got to be on the top of our game each and every day. We got to give the best stuff that we have day in, day out if we want to accomplish our goal of making it to Omaha and winning a national championship.
Yeah, and I mean, to be quite honest with you, hopefully it lit a fire under their ass to say, no more slow starts, no more sluggish starts. This is it. We're in playoff baseball now, right? So like, it is literally do or die. It is literally you got to go out there and play your best at this point. We, kind of stumbling to the finish line, kind of not performing at our best with these last 10, 15 games that we've played, kind of, up and down these last 10 to 15 games that we've had. But now hopefully being at home, understanding that we're hosting a regional, understanding who's coming into town, understanding there's a Wake and Evansville and the VCU who we played very well against and had a pretty good, series with VCU. Understanding these teams.
No, that remember that series got canceled.
No, I'm talking about overall. I'm talking about overall, like how we've played against VCU, like the overall.
Okay.
Oh well, yeah, I wasn't talking like this year. But regardless, hopefully it at the very least lights a fire under their ass to say, okay, let's get it done. Because at this point, the only thing left is to get to Omaha. It's not hosting regionals. It's not going to super regionals. That's great. We love it. We're going to support it. What's left is Omaha. So,
yeah, I mean, you got 2 weekends to get to Omaha, and you've just got to be on the top of your game. But I want to talk a little bit more about the conference tournament before we go into the regional. Like I said, burn through the bullpen fairly early. When you don't have your number one starter, I mean, honestly, top 3 pitcher in the country on the year, you don't have him ready to go with a freak injury. I mean, punctured lung. I mean,
yeah,
you just knew like the odds were stacked against you from the get-go, right? Then you have Zach Root and then Wyatt Lunsford Chinkman coming in, haven't pitched in a month. Obviously, there's going to be some rust, but hey, let's burn that rust off right now in the conference tournament. When going back to what you said earlier, it doesn't like it would have been nice to win the conference championship. I would have felt more comfortable with our hosting spot had we probably won that.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you don't have that. Let's burn that rust off and be ready for next week. That really hurt ECU. And then it just seemed like, I mean, like you said earlier, everybody's going to throw their best at you. And that's what we're seeing now. I mean, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but Wake holding out Chase Burns on Friday night to go up against ECU if both teams win, right? That's big. I mean, Chase, you talk about Trey Savage being a top 3 pitcher in the country. Guess who else is a top 3 pitcher in the country? Chase Burns.
It's
And-
chestnut checkers, brother. They respect us. It's chestnut checkers.
And I'm gonna say now, if Wake and ECU win tomorrow, Friday, all eyes are gonna be on Greenville, North Carolina, come Saturday night, because it's gonna be
a good one.
You're gonna be talking about a professional level pitching duel. That's what it's gonna be. Two of the best pitchers in the country going at it.
Yeah.
And doing their thing. And it's gonna be really interesting to see how that goes. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. I want to touch on, and this is walk the plank material perfectly. Dixon Williams in game 2 against Wichita State. So the first game against Wichita State, slid hard into second base, had spikes up a little bit. All right. Yes, it was a rough slide. Yes, I think he was out, like, based on the rule book.
Can I ask? Can I put a little caveat in there?
Yes.
So, just from someone who's not a baseball expert, never played baseball, so that is not considered dirty, right? Like, even spikes up with the way
it's
considered dirty.
It can't,
because it looked like from a casual. Like, I consider myself a casual. I'm like, ooh, that look kind of dicey.
Yeah, I mean, it is dirty. I mean, one would think that it was dirty. You want to slide hard into second base and break up the double play. They've changed the rule now. You can't, you have to be able to touch the base when you finish your slide.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't start your slide a foot in front of the base and just try to take the shortstop or second baseman's knees out. But yeah, sliding spikes up, trying to cleat somebody, as is what they call it. I mean, it's much like football, right? Like, if somebody goes down and they try to spike somebody on an opponent, that's dirty, right?
Right.
Just like stepping on an opponent's hand is dirty. It is. It's painful. It's dangerous. And I believe that the call was correct. I will say, I don't agree with a suspension there on somebody that doesn't have a history, doesn't have a record.
Right. So
right.
It probably was not intentional, even though it looked intentional. Or
right.
Kind of,
and I can't speak for Dixon Williams, but one has to think that he was just going in to make a hard baseball play, right? Trying to break up a double play. It's postseason baseball. You're doing whatever you can to win the ball game, and that's sports. If you don't like it, sit on the bench. That's my take on it. Like, was it a little dirty? Maybe, but that's baseball. That's just part of the game. Like, it happens. Sometimes it's on purpose. Sometimes it's not. But he gets thrown out of the game. 1 game suspension. Cliff Godwin comes out, argues the call, and I guess argues a little too long. And he's thrown out of the game.
Yeah.
Suspended for 2 games in the conference tournament.
Which I think that was ridiculous. I think that was
absolute bullshit.
Yeah,
and here's the final gripe. It was done by the same umpire that threw out Josh Gross last year for the sandwich incident. Got thrown out for handing one of his teammates a sandwich after he hit a home run. Same umpire. Same umpire. 3 for 3. Then,
look, he's just got a hard on for ECU.
Then Brian Dilday, a longtime huge ECU fan, drove through the night. Artie drove through the night.
Oh yeah,
with his son, and was thrown out of the game, I guess, for turning his sign into a megaphone. He's one of the megaphone guys,
right?
Turning his sign into a megaphone. I didn't think that. I mean, it's a sign. the American Athletic Conference tells security at the ballpark, hey, he's got to go.
Now, what was he saying? Vulgar things?
No,
What was he saying?
Artie, this guy is a youth pastor.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
with his son. Come on. The East Carolina University is the most marketable program you have in your conference for baseball, and arguably one of the most marketable programs you have altogether. And you are consistently doing whatever you can to knock ECU down week in, week out, month in, month out, season in, season out, every year. Every year. We all know the stuff that's happened in football. We all know the stuff that not so much has happened in basketball, and honestly, doesn't really matter. But when it comes to baseball, Artie, you've got I get maybe they want 2 seeds
right
in the or in the tournament. But come on, you got to protect your stars. And those suspensions and those rulings could have cost the ECU very well could have gone on and lost the next game to Rice. Thankfully, they didn't. Now you're talking about ECU not hosting. Now you're talking about ECU not hosting because something that the American Conference did. I'm almost at the point to where I'm so ready to get out of this damn conference. And Artie, we got
to
a day.
Where?
We got 1 day until Mr. Mike Oresco packs his bags and gets the hell out of town.
Well, look, this new guy ain't done nothing yet. You might miss on Mike.
I don't know. I don't know.
Hopefully you don't. But you might miss.
I don't know. Look, I'll say Mike Oresco has done a phenomenal job for the conference.
Just not good for ECU.
Never done anything for ECU.
Yeah. That's fair. That's a fair statement. But
everybody else gets the benefit of the doubt, but ECU, nope. I don't know. I'm at my wit's end, Artie. I'm at my wit's end with this. Look, I'm seeing here. ECU Pirate Nation, the video of the initial reaction of Brian and the security guys on my timeline. He even asked the guy if he said anything inappropriate, and the guy said no.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
The guy drove
the night with his son
just to watch ECU baseball.
Just to watch ECU. That's how you know this guy loves ECU baseball. He's fully invested.
And you know, nobody is going to Clearwater, Florida, for the American Athletic Conference tournament.
Now, if you're going to Clearwater, you're going for other things than baseball.
Right. And I get why they have it. Like the teams, the players, coaches, they enjoy it there because they can go down, they can go on the beach, relax. I get it. I get that. But it's about time for the conference to move the tournament somewhere else. And honestly, Artie, they should move it up to North Carolina because, I mean, between ECU and Charlotte, that's some of the best baseball in the conference.
What venue in North Carolina? Because you don't have a major league venue, so you got Charlotte Knight Stadium.
I mean, you're playing in a spring
occupied by ACC.
You're playing in a spring training stadium in a Phillies minor league affiliate, and there's no team. I believe it's like at least 150 miles within Clearwater.
ACC has Greensboro, so they have Grasshopper Stadium. They've got
ACC has Charlotte. Stadium. ACC has Charlotte. I mean, hell, so put it in Kinston.
Don't they have DPAP too?
No, they're just Charlotte now.
Oh, it's just Charlotte.
Yeah, it's just Charlotte.
Okay, because I mean I know they used Greensboro for like 4 or 5 of them conference tournaments. I didn't know if they were still doing
I
it
mean,
in that type of stadium.
put the damn thing in Kinston.
In Kinston, Jared. Look, the American Athletic Conference headquarters is in Dallas.
Yeah.
Put it in one of the baseball stadiums in Dallas or Houston, one of the little minor league stadiums in Dallas or Houston, man.
I'm just saying, if you want fans to show up, put it where the most passionate fans in the conference are, and they'll show up.
See that you showing your colors now. You showing your ass, Jared. Put it in Kinston.
Put it in Winston-Salem. Put it right here in Winston-Salem, Marty.
Look, the Winston-Salem Dash, Truist Park, that's a very beautiful stadium. I will say that is a very nice minor league stadium. It can host a conference tournament.
It needs to move. I mean, at some point, I get wanting to put it somewhere, and the city of Clearwater pays, I believe, decent money for it, so they're going to keep it there. But I'm almost at the point where, hey, let's just move it around to different towns in the conference.
Why not?
Why not?
Whoever's the 1 seed is the host for the.
I mean, I don't think you could do it that way, just because that takes a lot of planning to do it that way, and you usually have to have this stuff done in advance.
Yeah, that's true.
But
they can figure it out. The smart people to make a lot of money.
Put it where the conference champion was from last year. So that's it. Poor showing. I'm not happy with it, Artie. But what are you gonna do? We're gonna move on. We're gonna go into this weekend and play postseason baseball in Greenville, North Carolina. And we all know how special it is when the Pirates are playing a regional in Greenville. So get out there. Artie, let's do our first guest. Let's get to our first guest. He just joined. The voice of the Purple Aces, Jevin Redmond. Jevin, welcome to the Boneyard Podcast. How's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys. How are you?
Absolutely doing well.
I'm doing well, man. You're settled in are y'all staying in? I'm guessing you're staying in Greenville?
Yeah, we are. We're about 5 to 10 minutes from the stadium. So we got in Wednesday, late afternoon, early evening. We actually flew early Wednesday morning out of Nashville, flew into Raleigh, then bussed here to Greenville. So it was a long day of travel Wednesday, which was nice to have, kind of a day between that when you play. Today they had their practice slot. It was 2:30 to 3:45. Guys got a lift in, had a team dinner just a little bit ago. So we're settled in and ready for tomorrow now.
What was I'm guessing Sup Dogs wasn't on the team dinner. It was probably a team dinner at the hotel.
Yeah.
Actually, so normally we eat as a team at the hotel, or they give the players money and then go on their own. But we did have a big meal at the Black and Kraken, I think was the name of it.
Okay.
I know it was something Kraken. But that's where we went, and it was very good. Everyone enjoyed it. We ordered ahead, so got there about 6 o'clock, and we were in and out in about 45 minutes. So good food, had a good time, and now ready for some baseball.
Awesome.
For sure, yeah. Long day of travel. So coming in, I mean, Missouri Valley Conference champions, and big win last week over Indiana State to win the championship. Everybody knows Indiana State's been a top 15 team in the country pretty much all year. Talk to us about this Purple Aces baseball team. What kind of clicked over last week, and I mean they finished, I believe, third in the conference. What's kind of been clicking for them this year?
So I will say, I think from the outside looking in, a lot of these teams in the regional not real familiar with Evansville baseball, right? And it might appear as a big Cinderella story, but it's really far from that. This is a very experienced group that has 11 seniors. Some are grad students as well. And this was kind of one final run for them. They've been close to being in a regional the last 2 years. You go back to 2022, they were a game away from the championship. Last year, they made it to the championship Saturday, had to beat Indiana State twice at their place. They won a walk-off grand slam from Chase Hug to force a winner-take-all game 2, lost in that game 6-0, and there was kind of a bitter taste in their mouths about how the season finished. They all stuck together, gave it one last ride, and finally broke through at home, hosting the conference tournament last week. So, I realize that, Evansville is not a big name in college baseball and not many people are familiar with them, but this is a very talented group. They've won 30 or more games for 3 straight seasons. They finished top 4 in the Missouri Valley Conference the last 3 years, and a conference that's, really talented with teams like Indiana State, used to have Dallas Baptist. So I think this team is expecting to come in here and compete and hopefully win a few games as well, but this is far from a Cinderella team.
Yep. And Javin, kind of leading off of that, what is something about Evansville that, the viewers should know, the rest of the country should know? Like you said, not so many people may know about Evansville, but like you mentioned, they are an experienced group. What is something that we should know coming into this regional about Evansville that can make them dangerous?
Yeah, we'll start with their offense. I mean, that's really what they lean on. We said before the season started that the pitching just has to be good. It doesn't have to be great, just has to be good because the offense will carry them to some wins. And everyone got hot last week in the conference tournament. They scored 54 runs in 4 games. And their first 3 games actually were run rule victories, 2 against Illinois State, 1 against Illinois Chicago. And this stat is just incredible. They had 46 runs on 45 hits in 19 innings in which they went to the plate because, again, they had a run rule in 2 of those victories. So, like I said, 1 through 9, everybody got hot. They're really led by, as most teams are, but the middle part of their order. So the number 2 hitter is Mark Schallenberger, has a very big personality. I know he's going to have some fun with the people out in left field tomorrow. He's really looking forward to that. But he's hitting over 380. He's top 20 in college baseball, on-base percentage over 500. He has 24 hit by pitches this year. He's kind of one of those crazy old school players. He enjoys that kind of stuff. He really is the straw that stirs the drink. And then right behind him, Kip Feeders has been on an absolute tear, hitting close to 500 his last 13 games. Homered in 3 of the 4 games last week. He's one of the stronger players I've seen at our level in the batter's box. Used to play at IU, transferred to Evansville. He's been here for 2 years. So those 2 guys are the big bats. And then just kind of speaking on how last week went, a guy that we didn't expect so much, Cal McGinnis, who's a capable hitter, about a 300 hitter average-wise, but he was 10 for 14 in the tournament and also walked 6 times, scored 7 runs. So he is a guy that we didn't expect to have those type of numbers. He was tournament MVP. And if guys like that get going, that just proves how deadly this offense can be. And kind of one just impressive stat is they had an inning with 6 or more runs in every single game last week in their conference tournament. So, again, they lead in the big innings. I think it's kind of opposite. I know talking with some people from East Carolina, I'm kind of rambling at this point, but they said that, ECU, they'll bunt, they'll hit and run, they'll put pressure on the defense. And Evansville, I don't want to say is the opposite of that. They're kind of playing for the big home run or the big inning. And last week that all came together and, they went 4-0 in the conference tournament.
Nice.
Yeah, it seems like with ECU, what we've seen is they can have that blow up inning where they just, I mean, we saw it last week where they put 12 on the board in 1 inning against Rice, but a lot of times it's a couple runs here and there throughout the game, and
yeah.
I'd be fine with a couple more of those big blow up innings, and hopefully, I mean, I'm hoping Evansville got it out of their system coming into this weekend. But yeah, talk to me a little bit more. I was looking at some of y'all's stats. I mean, 36th in the country in on base percentage. It seems like there's a lot of patience at the plate. Second in the country in doubles. It was an insane stat to me. I believe over 150 doubles on the season. Is patience like a big part of this offense? Just kind of waiting out at bats.
No, it is. And that's a good point that you brought up because there are some good arms in the Missouri Valley Conference, especially your Friday and Saturday night starters. And Evansville made a living off of making those guys work, having deep counts, 8, 9 pitch at bats. Eventually, hey, we get those guys out in the 5th or 6th inning, maybe do damage before they leave or get to team's bullpen. And there was quite a few teams in the Valley this year that didn't have a strong bullpen. So that was their game plan. And they just have a lot of professional hitters because, again, 1 through 6 in this batting order, they all will be gone this year. They're in their last year of college baseball. So a lot of these guys have, so many bats that really they're almost a minor league hitter, single A, double A hitter because of that experience. So, that is their kind of their game plan is try to wear on the opposing pitchers, get in the bullpen, and try to have those big innings, 5, 6, 7 to set the back end of the bullpen. So that's a good point you brought up. I kind of make it sound like, hey, they're just hoping for a big inning or hoping for that big home run, but they've been very consistent this year. They're number 1 in the program in home runs. They hit 82 this year. Their 150 doubles is the most in program history, which, as you mentioned, is 6 off the pace for the nation lead behind Austin Peay. They've also scored the most runs in program history. So their attack has been consistent this year offensively. And then also at the same time, the pitching has kind of rounded to form, especially second half of the season, which has helped them win more games. This is also a group that started 10-16, guys. And there was some major concern after a 1-4 start in the conference because this was supposed to be their year. We're hosting the conference tournament for the first time since 1998. And we got to figure some stuff out. And they did. They closed the season on a 25-7 stretch. So they feel like they're playing their best baseball right now heading into this regional.
Gotcha. Now obviously, ECU is the host of the regional, right? But there's 4 teams here. And so what matchup are you excited for, if any? What matchup are you most excited for Evansville to play this weekend?
Yeah, well, I think obviously tomorrow is what you're looking at, as the most exciting one because it's the first game of the tournament. Heck, it's our first game in a regional since 2006. What ECU's been to 13 since 2006. So this is kind of ho-hum for them, just another day at the office. But I think too, I'm looking forward to seeing Burns pitch from Wake Forest. At some point, I understand he might be going in game 2. That's the plan for them. So the winner of this game tomorrow, well, congratulations, you get Burns on Saturday. So looking forward to watching him pitch. And I mean, not to be cliche, but we're looking for just the atmosphere. This is something that this group has not experienced. I know the stadium seats a little over 5,000. At our place last week for the championship, we had just under 2,000 fans there, which was the biggest crowd in program history. It was a very electric atmosphere, so this is going to be a couple notches higher than what we experienced last week on our home turf. But, while the guys are looking forward to the experience, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, hey, they're just happy to be here and whatever happens, happens. They do come in with the expectation to win, and, I think they have the talent to do so, and I expect a very competitive game tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. And talking about the atmosphere, I mean, I'm sure that the guys that have seen ECU maybe a little bit, maybe they've watched some videos. It is insane. It's intense, but it's a fun atmosphere to play in, and that's what we always hear from opposing out athletes, especially in the outfield. I mean, the left fielder probably will have a little bit more fun than the right fielder. I'll just say that. Right field is where the students are going to be, and then left field is a little more tame, but it's still loud. To that point, I mean, this is a big time moment. I mean, for Evansville, for really any team that makes a regional. You're throwing a freshman tomorrow night, left-handed freshman. Talk to me about him and his season so far. I know he's 8-1 on the season, but it seems like he's given up quite a bit of hits.
Yeah, and it's, for an ace, you look at him. I was actually joking with our sports information director on our flight. He was walking through the airport, and I said, you look at him, you wouldn't think he'd be the ace of your team. He looks like he should still be in high school. He's baby-faced, and, he's not as strong as he's going to be eventually in his college career, but he just really locates very well. And, while we say he's a freshman, yeah, he's pitched really a full college season now. So I think more so as a sophomore, but maturity wise, he's more of a junior or a senior. And he's been like that since day one. He's been very steady. He wasn't expected to be our number 1 or the Friday night guy. Nick Smith had been the number 1 the last couple of years. He had an off-season procedure, just wasn't himself. This year got moved to the bullpen. So I mentioned that 10-16 start. There was some panic, especially with the starting rotation. What do they do in the number 1 slot? And Deverman has filled in very nicely. Expect from him, I mean, he's not going to overpower you. He's upper 80s. He actually touched 90 on Saturday against Indiana State. I think there was a lot of adrenaline there with it being the championship game. It was his second start of the week, and he was pretty amped up. But consistently upper 80s. He's got a pretty good curveball. It's not quite a 12-6 curveball, but he mixes that with a slider and occasional drop and a changeup. So he has to locate very well. But you look at his numbers, he's allowed 3 earned runs or fewer in 12-16 starts this year. And he really doesn't walk batters all that much. In 12-16 starts, he's given up 2 or fewer walks. So he'll pitch to contact. He's got a good defense behind him, a very experienced infield. Our shortstop is arguably the most athletic shortstop in the Missouri Valley Conference. Him and the Indiana State shortstop are probably the 2 best guys. So he's not afraid to pitch to contact because he has good defense behind him. But hopefully Deverman can give Evansville 5 or 6 innings tomorrow. In a perfect world, that would be the case. They would go to Shane Harris, who has a sub-2 ERA in the month of May. He'd be your middle late inning guy, and then setting up Jacob Meyer, who is a grad student as a closer, leads the team in saves this year. So in a perfect world, those would be the 3 arms: Deverman, Harris to Meyer.
Gotcha.
Love
And
it.
Jevin, what are oh, good. You gonna say something, Jerry?
No, go ahead, Artie.
I was gonna ask, what are some of, like, kind of a fun question? What are some of the traditions that we can expect from Evansville? Any rituals, any superstitions, any fun things that they're gonna do pregame, postgame, what have you?
Yeah, I would say just pay attention to the dugout during the game. And I think if you don't know the guys, they would come across as that they approach the game the wrong way, where that maybe they're a bit obnoxious. But if you have the viewpoint of, hey, college baseball is supposed to be fun, which I get that vibe from ECU folks down here, I think you'll enjoy watching this Evansville team play. They do play with some flair, none bigger than our left fielder, Mark Schallenberger. So they all have their own little celebration every time they double. If they hit a home run, I'm just going to leave it as pay attention to what they do at home plate, because it's not the most PG thing, but they have fun with it. And so, yeah, they play with a lot of flair. There's always it is a movement of the sexual nature is what I'll give it to you once they cross home plate.
As it should be.
There's a lot of dancing, in there's a lot of dancing in the dugout. And I will say this. So Wes Carroll, our head coach, has, gone public about this, where the program really struggled in 2017, 2018, where they won less than 15 games back-to-back years. And he had looked himself in the mirror and, what do I need to change about this program? And he just changed his philosophy as far as how he recruits and lets people be who they are. And this senior group is very special to him, because this is the group that has changed things for him, especially the last 3 to 4 years. And he lets them be themselves, so their personality comes out. And the guys that aren't playing, their responsibility is keep the dugout hype, keep them, upbeat. So I would just encourage watching our dugout in between innings, and then, home run celebration at the plate, and then doubles are a lot of fun to watch as well.
Love it.
Yeah, a lot of double celebrations when you hit 150 of them on the season.
Plenty of experience, yeah.
Yeah. Now, talking about Wes Carroll, head coach, been there since 2008, Evansville alum. Talk to me about him, kind of his mentality. You say he lets the players be themselves, but just what, to somebody that doesn't know Wes Carroll, what could you say about him?
Yeah, I think when you go back to, I mentioned the run where they were struggling as a program, I think he was more so of the maybe old school hard-nosed coach, and he's kind of lessened, that a little bit. But again, not to be cliche, but he's created a family-like atmosphere with the program in terms of everyone's involved. I mean, I've never been around a group to where, the players interact with me or the staff members like we are part of the team. The families and parents are very close. This is just an example, but our left fielder, Mark Schallenberger, his dad, Bob Schallenberger, helps us a lot with content for social media. So the videos that you see that are put up, he's down there taking pictures, posting video. I think he said Championship Saturday took over 5,000 pictures that he uploaded to the team site, so players can go through and check them out. So, but Wes Carroll has that trust, and again, that family-like fielder where he lets a player's dad be in the dugout during games and take pictures and do that kind of stuff. Last year we had a pitcher, Nate Hardman, who went to Notre Dame, but his dad, Ryan Hardman, was doing some video work for us as well. So Wes wants everybody to be close. He bleeds purple. He grew up in the Evansville area. He went to Castle High School. His brother, Jamie Carroll, also played for the Aces. Jamie had a long Major League Baseball career with a handful of teams, Dodgers, Twins, Rockies, and a few others as well. But so he bleeds purple. He's an Evansville guy. And I know this breaking down the door for him as a coach the first time making the regional was very special to him.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because I see it sounds a lot like the early days, and ECU didn't have that kind of struggle that Evansville did early on. But Cliff Godwin, he's an alum of ECU, kind of that bleeding purple and gold, bleeding that purple and orange, purple, white, and orange of the Purple Aces. I mean, it's important. Somebody that loves the name on the front of the jersey. It's important to have that, especially in baseball.
Right. Well, and actually one thing I forgot to mention, I can't believe I did, but we kicked off the conference tournament last week with a major announcement to where a former player, Cobb Freeland, who's one of the main pitchers for the Rockies now, he's injured at the moment, but he got a pretty big payday as their ace at one point a few years ago. But he actually made an announcement that he's donating $3 million to the baseball program for them to build a new clubhouse, locker room, lounge area, and the coaches to have a new office as well. So that'll be going up third base side at the stadium. That'll be a huge upgrade from what the team has right now. They have to share some lockers in our soccer stadium with the soccer team and whatnot. So I know the coaches and players are very happy about that. That'll help recruiting. Plus our field, Charles H. Braun Stadium in German American Bank Field on campus, has been all AstroTurf ever since 2020. The first game they played on it was against IU March of 2020. It was actually the only game they played on that year because COVID shut down that season. But 4 full seasons with AstroTurf surface. They renovated the bullpens, the dugouts a bit in the stands. So I think the culmination of that plus the new clubhouse are going to help Wes Carroll in recruiting. And you've seen, kind of the field conditions pay off with some recruits that he's gotten the last 3 or 4 years.
That's interesting. And as somebody that is a fan of a team that plays on real grass and dirt, is there a bunch of AstroTurf in the Missouri Valley Conference? To be honest, I don't watch enough Missouri Valley baseball,
right.
But
yeah, so
go ahead.
Over half the schools have AstroTurf. There's still a few that don't, and actually 2 of the fields that don't are minor league parks. The single A and double A parks, the Cardinals are Bradley and Springfield with Missouri State. They actually play on natural surface. So yeah, it's for us, honestly, it's more uncommon now to see a field that's not AstroTurf. I was kind of against it at first. Now your field is a different story because it's very beautiful. The grass is kind of about like a putting green is what it looked like. It's very, very well maintained. But some of these parks that we go to, that's not the case. I think it makes it for a cleaner game with the AstroTurf. You get a more true hop, and we've seen the pace of play better with that because you don't have the longer innings with errors and whatnot. So I like the AstroTurf. Plus, it helps if you get any rain. I mean, you can start playing right away once the delay is over. But yeah, I'd say over half of our teams in the conference have AstroTurf.
Yeah, that you answered my next question on your thoughts on AstroTurf versus real grass. I'm more of a fan of the real grass just because we see it like when we go to Wichita State, when we used to go to Houston. I don't know. It just seemed like there was always some craziness that was going on the turf. So, yeah.
I definitely had that feeling.
Go ahead.
I definitely had that feeling early on, whenever they said, "Hey, we're going to all AstroTurf," and it was kind of a new thing in the conference when Evansville got it, in 2020. And I thought, man, the balls is going to be a lot quicker, the pace of play, and it's going to be tough on ground balls. Anything hard hit's going to get through, but it really hasn't been the case as much as I thought. And like I said, it's kind of settled into where, hey, you get more true hops. We actually see better defense than we did in previous years. So overall, I'm a fan.
For sure. Well, Jevin, I don't have any other questions. I do want to ask, I guess. I'm guessing, have you been to Sup Dogs? Have you heard of it?
I have not. I've heard of it, but I've not been there.
Okay, well, sometime this weekend, whenever you get a chance, go check it out. You can DM us and tell us what you got. Usually we ask all of our guests if they've gone, what their order was at Sup Dogs. But considering you haven't gone, go. My order is cheesy bacon delight, double the dog, fries, and an orange Sup crush. So I already.
I'll take you up on that tomorrow night, and then Saturday I need to know what's the go-to barbecue spot around here then.
Oh man,
I mean,
it depends.
A purist is probably gonna tell you Bees.
Bees, right? But you have to get the Bees at a certain time. Yeah. Outside of that,
Sam Jones. I am from Lexington, North Carolina, and I've said this, and I'm gonna probably get roasted in the comments here that I'm a Lexington barbecue. I'll take Lexington barbecue over Eastern style every day of the week. But I mean, Parker's isn't bad.
Parker's bad. Sam Jones.
If you're looking to get something quick,
I would definitely suggest Bees.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll let you know. I'll DM you on Saturday and let you know what I got then. All right.
Oh, and then ECU Pirate Nation said his tailgate in the jungle. He's got the best barbecue in this town, and I can agree. I feel like I've had it. I want to say I've had his brisket, but I don't know if I've ever had his barbecue. But go out there, go out to the jungle, DM him. He's got a picture of our mascot, Petey, on his Twitter.
Okay.
Find him. ECU Pirate Nation. You can tweet at Jevin, and work that out yourselves. But yeah, I recommend.
I know. I was told the bus.
Go ahead.
The bus leaves tomorrow at like 10 a.m. I think for the game, so I'll be there 2.5-3 hours before first pitch. So I'll have some time. Might come out there and check it out then, if that's my formal invite.
I I recommend anybody that can go out and if your team's not playing, but y'all are hanging around, I recommend going out to the jungle and experiencing it and seeing what's going on. It's an experience like no other. All right,
yeah,
Jevin,
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
For sure. Thanks for joining us on the Boneyard Podcast. Best of luck to you.
Absolutely.
And the Purple Aces. He says the barbecue won't be ready till Sunday. I don't know if you can see these, but he says the barbecue won't be ready till Sunday. Or Saturday, excuse me. So get out there
Saturday
and get some barbecue on Saturday.
All right, sounds good. Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate it, Jevin. Thank you.
Thanks again to Jevin Redmond, voice of the Purple Aces at Evansville. Artie, I mean, that's our opponent tomorrow night. Sounds like they got some bats that can wake up and go crazy at times, but through and through, it seems like they're a pretty balanced baseball team. Your thoughts?
Yeah, they do, and like he mentioned, I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to come out and just be happy to be here. Right, they're going to come out and play their best stuff. They're going to be wanting to win that game. Right, they're going to come out expecting to win, playing to win. Once you get to this stage, anything can happen. Right, so should be a good matchup. Looking forward to the possible fireworks we're going to see in this matchup tomorrow. But looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we were talking about in the group chat, and it's easy to say what you want and hope for what you want to happen, and and you want EC to kind of blow it up early and
obviously, but
and do big things so that way you can cruise through. But like you said, no team at this point of the season, no team in any game is an easy out.
Right.
You gotta scrap and claw all weekend to get to next weekend. And then next weekend you really gotta scrap and claw, especially if Tennessee wins their regional and we win our regional. Really got to scrap and claw to get through that. But we're not looking ahead to next weekend. We're thinking of this weekend only. And Artie, I really, you always see these 4 seeds that come in, and yeah, they're like Evansville. I wouldn't call them a Cinderella story, but to see the players and the athletes kind of come in and their eyes kind of go big when they see the stadium holds 5,000. There's going to be probably close to 7,000 people in that stadium.
Absolutely, yeah.
Come Friday afternoon and Saturday evening. Somebody lock up the fire marshal. That's all I'm going to say. Lock him up. Throw away the key. It's always fun to see, and then seeing the left fielder interact with the megaphones and. That's what I'll say to anybody is if you're coming in, like it's gonna be raucous, but it's a family friendly environment.
But honestly, those are the environments that you get up for. Even as an opponent, when you're going to an opposing stadium and you see it's raucous and it's loud and it's cool and everybody's got their traditions, like. You get up for that, so it's as a player, it's exciting. You don't walk into those kind of venues like, oh my god, you're just like, okay, cool, like this is what we play for. This is what we play for.
For sure, yeah. Best of luck to Evansville. Best of luck. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to tomorrow at 1:00. That game will be at 1:00 on ESPN Plus. If you're one of us that has to work or can't make it to Greenville this weekend, couldn't get tickets because they sold out quick.
They did. My goodness.
What was it? I think I saw one ticket being resold. And if you're reselling your ticket for $850, you can walk the damn plank.
I hope you get a flat tire. Shame on you.
Flat tire in your brand new car.
It's ridiculous.
That's walk the plank material. Selling it for
ridiculous.
Hey, I get it. Got to make that bread, but
you got some suckers out there that are gonna pay it. So you got some people out there.
If you're dropping $850 on a one ticket to the regional, unless it's the championship game, put that money towards the Pirate Club. Put that money towards put that money towards NIL.
Well, I love y'all, but there's diehards and then there's ignorance. It's not the same. So
I like that, Artie. I like that. We're gonna have our next guest on here in a second. Larry Sorensen, voice of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Also, I believe an 11-year MLB career, so not too shabby. Not like we were talking about Manny Ramirez's cup of coffee with the Chicago White Sox. He's a former All-Star. But Artie, everybody, we kind of talked about it earlier. All eyes on Saturday. If ECU wins,
right.
Wake wins, Saturday is going to be one of the most electric games of this tournament, and it's going to be in a regional, and it's going to be played in Clark LeClaire Stadium, and it's going to be absolutely wild. We were just talking about him, Larry Sorensen, joining the Boneyard Podcast. Larry, welcome to the Boneyard Podcast. How's it going, my friend?
Everything is terrific. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing well. Hey, Larry, I got to mention, you're a Michigan guy. My co-host here is a big Michigan fan.
Go Blue.
Go Blue, baby. Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to say that. Have you traveled yet,
that.
Oh, you appreciate that? Yeah. Hey, I don't hold it against him. Have you traveled to Greenville yet, or it looks like you're in your home office?
I am in my home. I did go down there today and saw 3 press conferences and a couple of batting practices and got some sun in and got acclimated a little bit and looked at the quiet side so I'd be ready for the loud side of things and got set, but then had to go to a baseball game tonight. Went to a Coastal Plains League game tonight. So,
oh, nice. Which one?
Went and saw Wilmington play Wilson.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it was a healthcare night. My wife works at the hospital in Wilson, so we went out and supported the Tobs.
Oh, nice. So I'm guessing, I assume that you're local to Wilson, so you should be fairly familiar with ECU.
Well, actually, we moved to Clayton about a year ago. My wife took a new position, so I commute to Wake Forest for football and baseball weekends and games. But I've been doing that for a while. Her medical career takes her a lot of different places, so we just do what we do.
Awesome. Love that. Yeah, and something about me and Artie, we both live in Winston-Salem. So
okay.
So I live probably about 10 minutes. Well, what do they call it now? From old Ernie Shore Field.
David F. Couch Ballpark.
There you go. Yeah, I grew up going to Wake Forest baseball games when they were on campus still.
Wow, that's going back a ways.
Yeah, I remember going to Wake Forest baseball games, and I remember you could walk up underneath, and there was a glass or a window behind home plate, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I mean, it was basically just bleachers, but being able to walk up and see that, I thought that was amazing.
Those are back in the Stan Cotton vintage days.
Oh yeah. But Larry, this is it's a big weekend in Greenville, big time matchup. Lots of good teams in this regional, especially with Wake Forest, the preseason top ranked team in the country. Maybe didn't have the kind of start that they wanted, but started to figure it out later on in the year. Talk to me about this Demon Deacon program.
Well, it really has been an up and down year, a little bit more than people expected. And I think part of what happened was unrealistic expectations after last year. And, what a lot of people don't realize is just last year was a magical year. It'll be the greatest year in Wake Forest baseball history. And anytime you have a year like that, it's pretty hard to compare to. You never want to replace the legend kind of thing, And so just everything went right last year, and there have been bumps and bruises this year and injuries this year, which was something the last year's team largely avoided. So still a lot of great talent on the field. I saw that in one of the projections that Wake Forest had 3 players in the top 12 expected to go in the first round. And if it does end up being an ECU Wake Forest matchup on Saturday, there will be 4 players out of the top 12 players expected to go in the draft. So that's pretty exciting to see that kind of talent all in one place and get to watch it compete against each other. But a lot of great teams that are here. And I think that baseball has been funny this year. Last year, there were some dominant teams and there were a small handful of dominant teams. And I think there's much more balance this time around and a lot more teams that have a chance to win it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wake, they might not have done everything they wanted to do in the regular season, right? But they still went 38-20, right? They're still 18 games over 500. So they're still a very excellent ball club. What's one of the deadliest things about this team going into this regional that makes them so dangerous?
Well, partially that it didn't go the way that they wanted, and they're hungry for it. And last year's team didn't face that much adversity. This year's team has, and I think that this year's team realizes a little bit more now how hard it is to do what you want to do. And I've heard a lot of that the last couple of weeks, and that seems to be something that sticks out. The stars need to be stars. Kurtz is going to have to hit a couple of home runs. Chase Burns, I don't know what else you can say about Chase Burns. He's had 15 starts, and 12 out of the 15, he's had 13. He's had double figures in strikeouts, and I think 11 out of the 15, he's had 13 or more strikeouts. So, 15 outs out of 18 batters that he retired his last time out. That's spectacular to watch. It's a lot of fun to watch. The defense in the infield is very good. Young players in the outfield, so you watch that just a little bit. But they can score runs in bunches, and I think that's what they're going to have to do this weekend.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and I want to talk about Chase Burns here in a minute, but, I mean, talking about Nick Kurtz, I mean, this guy is absolutely out of his mind. I mean, leading the team, I believe, in doubles and home runs, like on base percent. He leads pretty much every offensive stat. What makes him so good?
Somebody said something today that really hit home with me, and it was the first time I'd heard it said. We were talking about different things, and it was the equipment guy, Tony Joyce, and he said one of the things that you love about Nick Kurtz is he comes to practice every day thinking somebody might take his job. And when you've got a superstar that is leading the nation in different categories and is going to be a top 7, 8, 9 pick in the draft, that comes to work that hungry and has that much desire to improve every day, it really motivates you. He's got a great attitude. He understands the game of baseball. I saw a quote recently where in an article, and he said somebody asked him about being consistent. He said, you just keep doing what you're doing, and if you've had success doing it, you'll have success again. You just have to keep doing it.
I need to put that inspirational quote up on my wall right here.
Both your faces lit up right there, And I thought to myself, as a guy that played 10 years of 162 games a year, it's the truth. If you start doubting yourself and trying different things because you don't have the necessities to be successful, that's when you get into trouble. And I know I had a lot of success early in my career and then struggled, and I started reaching for anything I could find, and he's got a great attitude. He says, I've had success. It'll come back if I give it the chance to come back. And that really made a lot of sense to me. Plus, he's 6'6", he's 240. He hits the ball 10 miles. He's got a 19-foot arm span. And I play with Keith Hernandez, and I think Nick Kurtz can be that kind of a defensive first baseman. And he loves playing defense just like he loves playing offense. And he wants to win. He wants team wins. So,
and that is Keith Hernandez from Seinfeld.
Yes, it is.
If anybody was asking. No, talking about him and hearing some of the things that he's saying, it reminds me, I mean, of the cold-blooded killers in sports, right? Like the things that he's saying, or things that he's thinking that, hey, he's got to play like, or he plays like somebody's going to take his job, but he's also already the best guy on the team or one of the best guys on the team. That reminds me of the greats, the MJs, the Tigers of the world. And that is what is so scary when it comes to some of these athletes out there.
Yeah, I read a story the other day that Barkley told about Michael Jordan. It said that he played golf with Barkley and Daly and Jordan at one of the Olympics. And they played 18 holes, and those two dropped off. And Jordan said he was going to play 18 more. And then they had a game that night. And they got to the stadium, and Daly said, well, we'll just put you on the off guard, and you just take it easy defensively. We're going to kill him. He said, I want the point guard. And he said, well, why do you want the point guard? He said, because he said bad things about me in the paper, and I'm going to show him. Yeah, and he did. He shut the guy down. And it's that kind of killer instinct. And I think that's some of what Kurtz has, but he also realizes it's a team game, and he's got a calmness to him in the storm that you look for, the leadership that you look for.
Yeah, absolutely. And Larry, I want to ask you this because North Carolina, they have a lot of great baseball programs, right? We put a lot of teams in the tournament this season, but just the ACC, because the ACC alone was a gauntlet with so many great teams in that conference. What was that like seeing that this season? How did that prepare Wake Forest for this playoff run?
Well, as we talked about earlier, Artie, I came down from Michigan, man, and I thought we were pretty good up at U of M,
Yeah.
and I thought we were a pretty good school. And then I came down here and I started seeing the depth of the conference, the depth of the teams, the depth of pitching staffs. We had a kid named Mark Weber when I was at Michigan. And basically, there were some weekends where I pitched and started two days in a row, and a couple of times pitched complete games 2 days in a row. And the saying was Sorensen and Weber and pray for bad weather, because we were that shallow in our pitching staff, like Spahn and Sane and pray for rain. And you get down here, and the depth of the talent is just so significant. And you're exactly right about North Carolina, man. It is unbelievable. I think that when you start listing the hot spots of California, Texas, Florida, North Carolina is right there. And shout out to High Point University and Joey Hammond for making it into the tournament in his second year there. And again, just goes to show that you can get local players from North Carolina and make yourself a pretty good program.
For sure. Yeah. As somebody that's grown up here in North Carolina, just seeing it's so fun. And we've played state and we've played Carolina, and now we're going to get our chance at hopefully get our chance at playing Wake. I'm hoping. And if the stars align, we've talked about it a little bit about Saturday night. If everything goes the way the three of us on this screen want it to go tomorrow, then we're going to probably get the most electric game honestly in any regional, at least from a pitching perspective, that I can remember for quite some time. And getting Trey Savage going up against Chase Burns, two of the top, I would say, three pitchers in the country right now. Talk to me about Chase Burns and what he does so well. I know, we talked about him a little bit earlier, but talk to me a little bit more about his pitch mix and what he's doing to keep hitters off balance.
Well, I agree with you about the matchup, and I'm really, really anxious to see a Savage pitch because I've heard great things about him, and I want to see that split and see the kind of action that's got. And I'm really looking forward to that. But, it's funny because Burns obviously always got the big guy from the other team. And the first time it came around, he was pitching against, I believe, Santucci from Duke, and was one of the big stars. And we thought it was going to be this huge matchup, and it ended up they both got knocked out early. And funny how those things don't always work out the way that you want. But hopefully this weekend it will. The thing about Burns is his stuff is so electric. I was talking with Chris Fetter, the Tigers pitching coach, today about some things, and they had just faced Skeens, and he beat the Tigers. And he said the thing is he knows how to pitch too, in addition to the 100 miles an hour. And that's what Chase Burns does. He's got three electric pitches. He's got three pitches that he can get swing and misses on at any time. And if you get behind in the count to him, you're done. Basically you get to 1 and 2 and you've got no chance because he's got three different pitches that he can get you out with. And you got to start your swing so early. You see a lot of guys swing on pitches, and we got a note on this the other day. 31% of the time in his strikeouts this year, the catchers had to throw the ball to first base because it's been a breaking ball in the dirt, and they had to throw to first base to get the runner out. So, he's got those two breaking balls plus a fastball he can throw by you up high, and it's just a deadly combination. And it really gets the fans buzz too, because everybody checks the scoreboard a little bit longer to see if they're going to see triple digits.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah. And he's one of those guys that, I mean, I haven't seen him pitch live, but I've seen his stuff online. He's got electric stuff. He's got that 100-mile-per-hour fastball that you really don't see at the college level, at least not yet.
No, you're absolutely correct. You know what? And I talked about a little bit with him today. One of the things that I'm anxious to see is because of the raucous crowd that's going to be there. And if you've watched Chase Burns at all, you've seen the animatronics that he has after he gets a strikeout and so forth. It's going to be interesting to see how the crowd reacts to that. Now, having said that, one thing I'll say about him, and you guys pay attention to this tomorrow night when he pitch, or Saturday night when he pitches, or Saturday afternoon when he pitches, he doesn't do it to the other team. He doesn't do it to a hitter. He doesn't do it to the other bench. He faces his own bench. He faces right field, center field, away from the other team's dugout. He's a completely different person once he crosses the foul line. He's 110% consumed by the adrenaline and the moment. And when you get him away from that, he's very soft-spoken. He's very kind of mild-mannered. He rooms with Josh Hartle, and Josh Hartle wouldn't say crap if he had a mouthful of it. So, he's really just a mild-mannered guy, great teammate, very encouraging to everybody. There's no superstar about him. He treats everybody the same. You watch him in the dugout, and he's standing between a freshman and a sophomore or somebody on the injured list. He's just a guy when he's not pitching. But the adrenaline of throwing the baseball makes him a little bit different.
That's what I'm excited about, because Trey Savage has a little bit of that too. So these are two guys that seem like when they get amped up, and they get excited, and you'll see that out of even some of the other guys on ECU's bullpen when they come in a big spot, you'll see that if it's never towards the dugout or to the opposing batter. It's always let's go and trying to get their hitters fired up.
Well, and as you guys can tell, I'm obviously an old school kind of guy, and I have problems with some of the antics in today's game, quite honestly, and the disrespect that I feel like sometimes gets shown, but it sounds like your guys a lot like ours. And Chase said something today too. He said, pitching can be a momentum changer. Strikeouts can be a momentum changer. And sometimes 3 strikeouts will do the same thing as a 3-run homer, And I think that's a great point. I didn't get many strikeouts, so I wouldn't really know about striking out the side.
Now, talking about the raucous environment, I know that there's some crazy ones in the ACC, but still, when it comes to North Carolina baseball, I feel like ECU has one of the better environments. Have you talked to any of the guys about how they're feeling going into Clark LeClaire later this week? And
they know about it. They're obviously aware of it, and a couple of guys mentioned, Hartle and Kurtz mentioned that they had played with guys that both played here and played down here. Tom Walter obviously was very aware of it, and he was asked to compare, and he said, Elon this year, there was a fraternity that was having a fraternity party in the middle of the week. I think it was a Thursday night or some odd night, and he said it was crazy. It was nuts because people were well lubricated, and so they had that one night, and that was about the closest he could compare it to. But SEC, you go down there, and there's a handful of places that kind of get the same way. But it'll be great. It's it's the game is so great anyway that Hartle and I were talking about it today, and said that Omaha was like the greatest tournament that you've ever played in 1,000 times over on steroids. That's what Omaha felt like. And the lead up to it is part of what makes it that great.
100%. And hopefully us fans here at ECU get to experience it.
We keep knocking.
Yeah, you guys have got it surrounded. Great programs for a long time here. You got outstanding facilities. I had a chance to walk around during BP today and went out to the jungle, but I also went in and checked out the batting cages and looked around a little bit. And outstanding facilities and programs in good hands. They have been good for a long time, and they will be good for a long time. So there's going to be some great competition this weekend.
Absolutely.
Love it. Now, Larry, I got one last question for you. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Have you been to Sup Dogs?
I have not.
Oh,
We just had Jevin Redmond on from Evansville. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet with him or talk with him, but I highly recommend it when you're commuting back and forth this weekend. If you can, get over there, get you some food, and then report back to us on your experience.
I'll do that. We take baseball seriously in my family. My wife is my official scorer and statistician. The second date we went on 10 years ago, I took her to a Winston-Salem Dash game because I was doing the Dash games at the time. And I was going to big leaguer, right? And show her around, take her to the suites and have the free meals and everything else. And we walked into the stadium and she said, "Do they sell programs here?" And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because I like to keep score when I'm at a baseball game." And it was I was on a knee looking for a cigar wrapper to put on her finger on our second date.
Love it. Yeah. I probably shouldn't admit this. I'm going to a Dash game this weekend. So instead of making my way down to Greenville, but yeah, hey, best of luck. And we'll see what happens this weekend. Thanks, Larry.
Guys. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Artie, we're gonna finish up this marathon of a podcast that we've been on here with Joe Deck, the voice of the Rams out of VCU. Joe, welcome to the Boneyard Podcast. How's it going?
Going well. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, the pleasure is all ours. Like I said, you're our third guest tonight, and we appreciate you bearing with us coming in so late at night. But here we are. We've got a lot of people watching at home. Joe, I mean, this was a matchup we were supposed to see earlier in the season a couple of times, and a couple of times it just didn't work out. Talk to me about this VCU team winning the A10 conference championship and making their way into the College World Series.
Yeah, it's a VCU program that has now won 3 of the last 4 in the A10 tournament. Actually, the last 3 times they've been in the A10 tournament, they've won. Last year they missed out, but in his second year, Coach Bradley LaCroix has gotten the Rams back into the regionals. They've been really hot of late. Beginning of the year, they took 1 of 3 in the first series of the year against NC State. They have played tough games on the road at Chapel Hill, at UVA. You mentioned the East Carolina series a couple of times. They thought maybe we were going to get it, whether the first time, the second time, it just didn't work out. And actually, there was a midweek late in the year against ODU. They lost that one, but since then, only 1 loss in the last 2 or 3 weeks. They swept the A10 tournament, went 4-0, and they've got guys that are just mashing. The offense, which has been kind of up and down throughout the year, some of that's been through injury, but now it's really clicking. I know folks in Richmond are hoping that the layoff in between the A10 tournament and the regional play won't slow it down because it's been absolutely red hot. This has been a team that has looked to be the offense that we kind of expected maybe throughout the entire year, but now it's really come alive. Just some names to throw out. Brandon Ike, A10 Player of the Year, a name that if you're familiar with VCU baseball, you're going to remember from last year. He was great last year. This year, even better. He was second in the country in doubles. Absolutely pounded the ball. 632 in the A10 tournament with 5 home runs and 8 RBIs in 4 games. So if he brings that kind of power to the regional tournament, VCU will do very well.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy to lead your team in doubles, but also lead your team in home runs, average and on base percentage, I mean that's absolute. That's stardom right there, and he's a guy that I hadn't heard of, but I'm definitely going to be watching out for him this weekend.
Yeah, he's a guy that transferred to VCU from UNC, was on the team last year. The team didn't have the kind of season they were hoping for. Kind of late in the year, things didn't work out. They missed out on the A10 tournament that they were actually hosting, coincidentally. But then this year they got back in it and just absolutely tore up toward the end of the year. And honestly, we're talking about Ike. Eli Wiesner's another guy. He hit 467 in the A10 tournament with 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. Cooper Benzin is a guy that is started to get back into the lineup. He's a veteran of this program, was on the 2012 team that almost got into the Super Regionals. They upset UNC the first time they played in that second regional game. And then UNC bounced back and beat them twice to go to the Super Regionals that year. But that was a VCU team that Sean Stifler was the coach. He's now at Notre Dame. But that was the nation's longest winning streak going into it that year. So this is a team that has gotten into the regionals. This is the first time under Bradley LaCroix, obviously, with his second year at the helm. But this is an offense that's been very good. It's a VCU team, though, that throughout the entire year has been led by the bullpen. Brian Curley is going to be option 1 out of the bullpen. He's actually a guy that will come in, and if he's got his stuff, he'll finish the game. He'll come in early and finish the game. He pitches 5-6 innings out of the bullpen regularly. And then a option they use to close is Owen Tappy. That's another dangerous arm out of the bullpen. When it's Tappy time, VCU fans start to get a little loud. They sense it.
Yep. And, Joe, going into this particular regional against these particular opponents, what do you think is going to take for VCU to make some serious noise, win some games here in this regional, possibly win the regional? What would that take going to be against these particular opponents?
Well, the first game will be against Wake Forest, and Wake Forest is going to be tough, right? They're in the ACC. It's a top 25 team. It's going to be a major test for VCU right out of the gate. But if they can get that first game, and I think what's going to be crucial for them is not digging themselves in too big of a hole. When VCU's lost games this year, it's been because they dig themselves in too big of a hole early and can't come out of it. The bullpen is strong. They've got multiple guys they can go to out of that bullpen. I already mentioned Brian Curley and Owen Tappy, but Mason Martinez is another guy that can eat up innings for them out of the bullpen. If they can stay in the ball game and keep it close and allow that bullpen to really seize and shut down the opposing offense to allow the Rams offense to pick back up. And if they're hitting home runs like they have been, I mean, honestly, when you look at the home run totals, it might not blow you away, but you got to remember they play at the Diamond, which is the AA home of the Flying Squirrels. So that's a professional park. So it's deep. When the wind is blowing in there, it's almost impossible to get it out. In fact, I've only seen one team mash the ball out of there, and it was UVA. And so when UVA came down there, and honestly, that was a game that VCU had a shot. I mean, they were battling. What killed them in that game was 2-out runs. I think UVA hit 4 home runs with 2 outs or something like that. So it's hard to win games like that. But I think this is a VCU team that if the bullpen keeps doing what it's been doing all year and the offense picks up right where it left off in this A10 tournament, VCU's got a puncher's chance here. I mean, I was really looking forward to the East Carolina series in the regular season as a measuring stick to see, is this team a team that can get into the region and make noise in a regional tournament? And unfortunately, we didn't get to see that. But seeing them compete against UVA in those games, seeing them get 1 of 3 at NC State, and kind of, show their muscle a little bit. And then in this A10 tournament, honestly, it's a 1-bid league in the A10, but it's a conference that year in, year out, everybody's jumbled up. It's really competitive tournament. I think at one point, 3 games separated first place from not making the tournament. So until near the end of the year. So it's a hugely competitive conference tournament once you get in, and only the top 7 make it. So, and for VCU, they've won 11 straight A10 tournament games. So when they're in the A10 tournament, they expect to win it. And this is a program that I think has the experience and the senior leadership, with a handful of these guys being on the 2020 team that went deep into the UNC regional in Chapel Hill. I don't think it's a team that's going to come in intimidated, which is honestly, sometimes when you get these huge underdogs, that's something they battle. They battle we're on the national stage, we have to, not shrink away. This is a VCU team that loves competing and loves challenges.
For sure. Yeah. And we talked to Jevin Redmond earlier, the voice of Evansville, and he talked about not being an underdog. And I wouldn't consider VCU an underdog from my point of view. I don't think anybody is taking them lightly. But talk to me. We haven't talked about pitching yet. I want to know, I haven't seen anything. Have they announced the starter for tomorrow? If so, I haven't. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but
I haven't seen anything official. Christian Gordon or Cosentino would probably be my guess. I haven't seen anything official on that either. But those are the guys that typically are your Friday or Saturday starters. VCU operates a pod system, so in the regional, that kind of gets blown up anyway. But like I said, if the starter doesn't have it, they're going to turn to Brian Curley and look at Brian Curley and go, hey, finish the game for us. And so, honestly, it is a team that does have starters. Christian Gordon is a legit starter. He is very good if he comes in. Was an all-conference kind of pitcher this year. So that's probably the starter that's been most consistent for VCU this year has been Christian Gordon. But outside of that, again, it's a team that's led primarily by the bullpen. It's one of the top bullpens. It was the best bullpen in the A10. It's one of the best lowest ERAs in the country. I think they come in 32nd into the regional in terms of team ERA, and a lot of that's because of the bullpen. For
sure. And I wanted to ask, I mean, we didn't get, the guys didn't get to come into Clark LeClaire this year. But playing in this kind of environment, I know you played at NC State, played some, I mean, Chapel Hill, some other big time schools, but coming into this environment, have you talked to any of the guys about how they feel and what are they excited to play in front of 6,500 fans?
I haven't gotten to talk to the guys. Most of my broadcasts are on ESPN Plus, and their home season wrapped up May 7th. So I haven't talked to these guys at all since then. So I think that, but like I said, they've been to NC State, they've been to Chapel Hill, they've been to UVA. I mean, and these are teams that UVA is a team that usually is in Omaha, and that's a pretty rowdy bunch. And honestly, when they're playing at the Diamond, UVA brings their fair share of fans there too. So they're used to loud environments. I honestly think this is the kind of team that feeds off that. So I know there's a lot of guys who love to compete, and I think that especially some of the pitchers in the bullpen will absolutely feed off a raucous crowd and just try to and amp them up even more.
Yep.
And VCU has, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the last time VCU played down there. They have a super fan VCU flag guy who will be down there and waving his flag and VCU stuff. So.
Yeah, he was one of the guys. I asked another VCU fan to come on. There were some difficulties in communication with us earlier, but and he recommended having the flag guy on. Talk to us about him. What's his thing?
He's a super fan. He sits behind home plate and starts waving his flags. They have a promotion that if VCU pitchers strike out 13 or more hitters, everybody there gets a free Papadilla. So he'll be screaming for Papadillas the whole game. It's in good fun. He doesn't say anything he's not supposed to say. Honestly, there are times where we pick him up on our crowd mics, but it's always clean. So he's just a super passionate VCU fan.
Love that. We need more of that. That's what makes college baseball fun. Is the fan base, the passionate fans, and I feel like every place has their thing. Whether at ECU it's the megaphones, whether it's a flag guy, or if you go to Vanderbilt and you got the guy that whistles nonstop. Which we played there in a super regional a couple years ago, and I didn't go to the super. But listening to it on TV, I was ready to come through my screen and punch the guy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if you're not a VCU fan, it might get old, but
no.
As a person who's doing the games, like, honestly, there are so many times where I'm just like, oh, please just don't let anything that's not supposed to go over the air go over the air. And that's not something I worry about with him. So
good. Yeah. And that's the thing. And we said it earlier to each of the previous guests. That's the thing about ECU is, now, right field, if you were to have, I don't think they have any fan mics in right field, and probably rightfully so.
Yeah.
Just because that's where you got your lubed up students. But in left field, the left field megaphones, those guys they're great. They're a lot of fun. They have fun with the left fielder. So yeah, it should be a fun weekend, and we're really excited to have VCU in along with the other two programs. Anything you want ECU fans to know about VCU, about this team?
Like I said, it's a team that is used to getting to regionals now, especially this group of seniors that have been there. Cooper Benson is a name you're probably going to see in the lineup. The way he's been hitting of recently, that's tremendous. That's what VCU needs. Another guy that's behind the plate that you should probably know when you're watching VCU is going to be Nick Erickson, and he has the ability to throw out base runners at a pretty high clip. So that's going to be run at your own risk. He keeps VCU in games with his ability behind the plate and able to control base running, which is so important, especially in the college game. If you can't control base runners, it really puts your pitchers in a dire situation, and he helps them out too by throwing out base runners. And I think if this offense, if you're watching VCU and you're thinking to yourself, okay, what is this team going to do to cause us nightmares? It's going to be if that middle of the order is clicking. If that middle of the order is clicking, then look out. And you know, I mentioned Nick Erickson. He's the guy who's going to be catching every game, I would imagine. But this is just a fun fact about VCU. Their backup catcher is actually their starting second baseman, which I don't think I've ever seen another second base / catcher combo in the entire time I've called games now. So at baseball, so
it's an interesting position to have be a catcher, right?
It has a ton of range too in the middle of the infield. Casey Kleiman's very good.
you see guys. I mean, I've seen the first baseman catcher combo. I mean, we see it quite a bit here at ECU. I've even seen like a third baseman catcher. The craziest thing earlier this year when we played Campbell was the catcher for Campbell caught all game, came in, he closed the game, was the closing pitcher, and I think he also hit a walk-off bomb off of us. Yeah. So, dude did it all. I was ready to get out of Bowie's Creek after that game. But for sure, Joe, thanks for joining us on the Boneyard Podcast. I don't really have anything else. Best of luck to you and the Rams this weekend, and going forward, if that is what happens.
Yeah, well, hopefully, you know, I'll be rooting for VCU, obviously. But if we don't win and you guys do, then I hope ECU has a successful super regional, because I know there's a lot of talk about, you know, hosts and who was picked and who wasn't. But
I meant to ask Larry about that. That was the question I meant to ask. I meant to ask what he thought about us hosting over Wake. Hey, I mean, when you look at games like that we played against the same opponents, ECU did have a better record against Carolina and NC State, but that's just part of it. Same goes for Duke. Also, the problem with Duke was their stadium holds 1,000 people, right? Like it's not fit for it unless they're going to play at the DBAP, but it's not fit for a regional. The Jack Combs Stadium is not fit for it. So that's part of it. And I don't think I saw somebody say, they didn't want 3 teams from the ACC to all be hosting a regional or whatever from so close to each other. But hey, whatever. I'm glad ECU's hosting. But yeah, we're excited to have y'all down here. Are you coming?
I'm excited. I'm not going to make it down there this weekend, but I'm excited I'll be watching for sure. And I'm excited at the potential VCU ECU games that we didn't get earlier in the year. Hoping we get them in this regional.
Maybe we'll get one Saturday after both teams go 1-0.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Let's hope for that. Yeah. Thanks.
All right.
Again,
Joe, thanks for joining us on the Boneyard Podcast. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Once again, that was Joe Deck from VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. Artie, the marathon is done.
We did it. We got through speed dating. Yay!
We did a good job. Good job. Hey, next they're going to be offering us a radio position. Who knows? Fun episode. Any last thoughts on this regional going into it?
Went through a lot. At this point, just excited. And, you know, the mantra all season, as my co-host Jared Shaffer would say, do your damn job. So that's that's what I'll leave. I'll leave it at that. ECU, come out, do your damn job. You have the tools, you have everything in front of you. You're at home, baby. We're gonna have a home crowd. It's gonna be raucous. Sellout, obviously. They're gonna have record crowds every night. They're gonna announce a new record crowd or some shit like that. So it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a good time, a good atmosphere. Go out, have fun. But let's enjoy this. Let's always enjoy the moment. This is not something to take for granted. When you host regionals, as a program like we are, we kind of gotten spoiled by hosting regionals, being in the regionals. We really shouldn't take these things for granted. So enjoy it, but win it. So.
Yeah, just win, baby. Al Davis, that's all you got to do, and stay within yourself. Play your game, play Pirate baseball, and good things will happen. I mean, eventually we're gonna kick down that damn door to Omaha, and why not this year? Hey,
yeah.
You got to be battle tested to get to Omaha, right? And ECU being the 16 seed has a tougher regional. I think that with Wake coming in and VCU and even Evansville, I mean, you got two conference tournament or two conference champions coming in, plus the preseason number one team in the country. Oh, and by the way, it's a top 15 team all year long in East Carolina. It's gonna be an interesting weekend. I hope all of our listeners enjoy. Get out to Clark LeClaire. Have a Pirate beverage on me or for me. I'm not paying for all y'all's 6,500 Pirate beverages, but Artie could. He just bought a brand new car.
No, I cannot. Even if I could, I wouldn't. So that's just me being honest with you.
All right, Artie, you got to walk the plank.
I do have a walk the plank. We're gonna stick with baseball on this one. Only story I got that I can think of as far as a walk the plank. That's one Mets reliever, Jorge Lopez, who the other night. Did you hear about the story with
No,
Jorge
I didn't.
Lopez? You didn't hear about okay, so this is I thought you would have heard about this. So Jorge Lopez, reliever for the Mets, had this ridiculous rant the other night. I think it was either yesterday or 2 nights ago. I can't remember. After a 10-3 loss against the Dodgers, ended up surrendering a 2-run home run to Shohei Ohtani, and he literally chucked his glove, threw it into the crowd, following an ejection after a missed call. I think he was disputing, and then literally said, "This team is the worst fucking team in the league," talking about the Mets. All right, so afterwards,
I can agree.
Yeah, he literally goes on this whole tirade, this whole rant. He's tried to clean it up since then, talking about, I was just talking about myself. I wasn't trying to talk about the team. It was just, I was just calling myself bad, or whatever it was. We all know he was going off for the team. He literally you can see the video. He threw the glove into the crowd on this whole tirade. The Mets end up cutting him the next day. So he got cut today by the New York Mets. Wasn't going well for him. They're obviously not a great team right now. They've been on a decline the last couple of weeks. But Jorge Lopez walked the damn plank. That was absolutely, it was funny, but ridiculous at the same time.
Yeah. I don't really have one other than the Matt Nieder from the umpire and the ECU game against Wichita State.
He can
walk the damn plank. The Mike Oresco for the last time walked the damn plank. And then the American Conference can walk the damn plank. Lastly, any Mississippi State fan that comes in our mentions, walk the damn plank. Any Duke fan that comes in our mentions, walk the damn plank. Because y'all are pissed. Y'all are pissed that y'all aren't hosting, and we are. Cry a little bit harder.
Mississippi State mad at us?
Yeah, they're calling us the darlings of the NCAA and saying that the NCAA is doing anything for us. I was like, look at the college football playoff, bro.
Little old ECU.
We're because John Gilbert, which by the way, Artie, John Gilbert, who is next week's guest on the Boneyard podcast. Just a quick plug there. Episode 200, John Gilbert. They're mad that he's on the committee along with other guys that are on the committee that help their programs out, and they have to recuse themselves when they're voting on their teams. So when it comes time to talk about ECU, John Gilbert, friend of the podcast, starting next week, has to leave the room. and that they're like, oh well, we didn't have a guy on, so if we had a guy on, we would have hosted. Maybe, but guess what? You got a guy on every other thing, and they're always looking out for you and greasing each other's hands and whatever. I don't give a damn.
They are a Southeastern Conference school. They can cry me a damn river. I don't give a damn. You're in the SEC. Cry me a river.
Yeah, walk the
Get
damn
outta here.
plank. Walk the damn plank. That's all I got. Lastly, already let's do a quick gambling corner. I'm not going to go through all these. I wanted to talk about some of the different. We could go through. Actually, let's go through all of them. We've got. Let's see, 6 different regionals that will include a team from North Carolina. Let's talk about those teams from North Carolina and their odds to win their respective regionals. First one, the Athens regional down in Georgia, UNCW is plus 350.
Yeah,
I'm not taking that.
not gonna happen.
Georgia's been pretty good lately.
Not gonna happen. UNCW can get a game. I can see them getting in that regional, but they're not going to win the regional. Not going to happen.
For sure, yeah. And next is the Chapel Hill regional, Artie. Chapel Hill is minus 120 on this regional. Just looking at it, you got Chapel Hill, LSU, Wofford, and then I believe this is Long Island University. LSU is dangerous, but I think Carolina gets it done.
Defending national champions.
Yeah,
but I agree. I think Carolina gets it done. But I mean, LSU. I mean, off the rip. I mean, that's crazy. But I agree. I think Carolina gets that done.
This is going to be an interesting regional. The Clemson regional. You got Vanderbilt, who is a perennial regional host and top 8 national seed, as the 2 seed. You got Coastal Carolina, who former national champion. And then you got High Point. High Point's plus 2,500. I mean, maybe just throw some money on it just so when it does happen.
Whatever. You can go $5 with that and become a damn near millionaire.
So who do you think wins that? I think Clemson's taking that one.
I think Clemson is the most complete team. Absolutely, I think Clemson is gonna take that. Shout out to High Point though for just getting into the dance. That's a very underrated school in general. They usually have a pretty good, like basketball team, pretty good baseball team. It's a gorgeous campus too. High Point ain't nothing to brag about. But High Point University is a very pretty campus. So shout out to them.
For sure. All right, next up, we're gonna skip the Greenville Regional, the Norman Regional. Duke's the favorites to win in Oklahoma. They're minus 140. I like their chances.
Yeah, give me Duke. Give me the Blue Devils. Who else is in that regional outside of Duke and Oklahoma?
Connecticut and then Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts usually does have a pretty good baseball program, though.
Connecticut's sneaky good too.
Yeah.
Here's one, the Raleigh Regional, NC State hosting South Carolina, James Madison, and the infamous Bryant Bulldogs from a couple years ago. State's minus 105. They're the favorites. Don't sleep on South Carolina here.
Sleep on South Carolina. Yeah.
I really do like South Carolina in this regional, just because I don't want NC State to have anything good in their lives. All right. Lastly, Artie, the Greenville Regional. Wake Forest is the favorites. They're minus 145. Pretty heavy, honestly. And then East Carolina plus 155. VC's plus 1,100. Evansville plus 1,200. What are we doing here?
Yeah, look, obviously ECU can't come out and lay an egg. But we play our brand of baseball, we walk away with this thing. Absolutely. Bar none, we walk away with this thing. We play our brand of baseball, absolutely. So
I agree.
I know Wake's favorite. And Wake is not, I mean, that is That's going to be a tough out, man. It really is. And then you got probably Tennessee on the other side if we get through this. But we play our brand of baseball. Give me East Carolina.
Yeah, and that Tennessee regional is interesting because you got Southern Miss going into Knoxville. That's a team that can do some damage. Not to mention you got Indiana also going in there, but
Miss is a historically good program. But come on, Tennessee's good. Tennessee's good.
I mean, Southern Miss had a very good year last year. They didn't have maybe as good of a year this year, but they're still a very good baseball team. And I would love to see Southern Miss East come to Greenville next weekend.
Obviously, we don't want to see Tennessee. We don't have to.
All right, Artie. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up this game or wrap up this this podcast? I'm at the point where I can't even speak.
We're sitting at 1 hour and 46 minutes, man. I think we done said everything we can say. We're gonna let the people go on about their nights.
All right. Well, make sure you subscribe to the Boneyard Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio. I can't remember where we're at. Leave us a 5-star review once you do that. If you do, you're a friend of the podcast for life. If not, you can walk the damn plank. Also, subscribe on YouTube at Boneyard Podcast. Episode 200 is next week. Like I said, John Gilbert, we've already recorded the interview. We recorded the interview last week with John Gilbert. So it was before, it was actually during game 1 of the tournament last week that we recorded it. But so it's before all the stuff came out. We didn't get to ask him about it, but stay tuned. Lots of good information in there. Lots of different conversation that we were able to have with him. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe. We're not going to be playing it live on the podcast, but it will be on when we upload the video to YouTube. So if you want to watch that, check it out. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. And follow us on social media, wherever you want to follow us, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at Boneyard Podcast. You can find us at all of them, at The Boneyard Podcast on TikTok. Do that. If you do, friend of the podcast. If you don't, Artie, what can they do?
Walk the damn plank.
Damn right. And shout out to the College Huddle. We're working on some great content with them. So that's all I got, Artie. Let's get the hell out of here. Let's go win a regional.
Hey, let's go win a regional. Power Nation. As always, we love you. Wash your hands, wash your butts. Deuce.
Peace.